Welcome to a pivotal moment in automotive history. In 1926, the landscape of transportation changed forever with the birth of Mercedes-Benz. This wasn't just a business deal, it was the survival of two pioneering spirits, Carl Benz and Gottlieb Daimler, who had independently invented the automobile just decades prior. By the mid-1920s, Germany was reeling from post-World War I economic devastation and hyperinflation. The automotive industry was fragmented, and competition from mass producers like Ford was looming. To survive, the two oldest car manufacturers in the world realized they could no longer be rivals. They had to become one. This is the story of how the three-pointed star and the laurel wreath merged to define luxury and performance for the next century.
Before the merger, we had two separate geniuses working just miles apart, yet they never actually met. Carl Benz patented the first gasoline-powered car in 1886, the patent Motorwagen. Simultaneously, Gottlieb Daimler and Wilhelm Maybach were refining high-speed internal combustion engines. Benz focused on the complete vehicle integration, while Daimler's strength was the engine's versatility across land, water, and air. By the early 1900s, Mercedes had become the brand name for Daimler's cars, named after Mercedes Jelinek. Meanwhile, Benz and CA remained the world's largest automobile plant by 1900. Their rivalry pushed engineering boundaries, but the 1920s economy demanded a truce to prevent bankruptcy.
The early 1920s in the Weimar Republic were characterized by staggering hyperinflation. In 1923, the German mark lost its value so rapidly that prices changed by the hour. For luxury automakers, this was a death sentence. Materials became unaffordable and the customer base evaporated. Additionally, the American danger, the influx of mass-produced cheap Ford Model Ts, threatened to wipe out specialized European craft. To counter this, DMG and Benz and CA entered an agreement of mutual interest in 1924. They standardized designs, shared purchasing, and coordinated sales, all while remaining separate companies. This two-year trial period proved that their combined engineering was the only path forward. On June 28, 1926, the formal merger was signed, creating Daimler-Benz AG. The headquarters were established in Berlin, with the main production moving towards Stuttgart. This wasn't just a financial consolidation, it was a marriage of philosophies. Benz brought reliability and robust chassis design, while Daimler brought the high-performance Mercedes engines. The new company immediately began streamlining its model range. Instead of competing against each other with dozens of overlapping models, they focused on a tiered lineup of luxury and mid-range vehicles. This synergy allowed them to survive the Great Depression that would hit just 3 years later, a feat many other German manufacturers couldn't manage. One of the most iconic symbols in the world was born from this merger. Daimler had used the three-pointed star since 1909, symbolizing his ambition for motorization on land, on water, and in the air. Benz used a laurel wreath, a traditional symbol of victory in racing. When the companies merged, the star was placed inside the wreath. This new logo, registered in 1927 and appearing on radiators from 1926, became the ultimate badge of prestige. For a DIY mechanic or restorer today, that radiator mascot represents a century of standardized excellence. The logo wasn't just branding, it was a promise that the vehicle met the combined standards of the world's two oldest automotive pioneers. The merger's first great triumph was the S-Series. Under the technical direction of Ferdinand Porsche, who was DMG's chief engineer at the time, the company produced the Mercedes-Benz Model S, Sport, in 1927. This was followed by the SS, the SSK, and the SSKL. These cars were monsters of engineering, featuring massive 6.8 to 7.1-liter inline-six engines with switchable superchargers, compressors. They produced up to 300 horsepower, a staggering figure for the late 1920s. For performance enthusiasts, these cars proved that the merger hadn't dulled their competitive edge, it had sharpened it. The S-Series dominated hill climbs and sports car racing, cementing the brand's reputation for unbeatable power. The 1926 merger laid the foundation for the most famous era in racing, the Silver Arrows. In the 1930s, Mercedes-Benz dominated Grand Prix racing. Legend has it that in 1934, the W25 was 1 kilogram over the weight limit, so the team scraped off the white lead paint to reveal the bare aluminum skin, saving the weight and winning the race. Whether myth or fact, the silver arrows symbolize the technical superiority that the merger made possible. The financial backing of the combined company allowed for radical innovations in aerodynamics, independent suspension, and fuel injection. For today's car buyer, this racing heritage is why Mercedes-Benz is still synonymous with the cutting edge of automotive technology.
Post-merger, Mercedes-Benz didn't just focus on speed, they redefined luxury. Models like the 770 Grosser Mercedes became the choice for heads of state and the global elite. These vehicles introduced features that were decades ahead of their time, such as vacuum-assisted brakes and 8-cylinder engines that were incredibly smooth. The merger allowed the company to invest in over-engineering, a trait that mechanics still admire in classic Mercedes models today. They weren't just building cars, they were building status. Every component, from the wool carpets to the hand-polished wood trim, was designed to last a lifetime, setting a benchmark that other manufacturers are still trying to hit a century later. For the DIY mechanic, the 1926 merger is significant because it began the era of standardized parts and comprehensive service manuals. Daimler-Benz AG understood that luxury required longevity. They established a service network that ensured their vehicles could be maintained for decades. This philosophy continues today with the Mercedes-Benz Classic Center. If you own a vintage model, you can still source many parts using original part numbers established in the years following the merger. This commitment to serviceability is a core reason why more classic Mercedes-Benz vehicles are on the road today than almost any other vintage brand. Their engineering transparency makes them a favorite for those who love to turn a wrench. As we look back at the 1926 merger, we see more than just a corporate union. We see the birth of the modern automotive world. The significance of Daimler-Benz AG lies in its refusal to compromise during a time of crisis. By combining the best engine technology with the best chassis engineering, they created a brand that survived wars, economic collapses, and shifting consumer tastes. Today, every time you see a three-pointed star, you are looking at the result of a 1926 decision to pursue perfection through partnership. Whether you are a buyer, an enthusiast, or a mechanic, the 1926 merger remains the most important chapter in the history of the car. It wasn't just the birth of a brand, it was the birth of a standard.